thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, November 3rd. November 3rd. Wow.
Three days to my birthday.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Jesse's birthday. It's also, Jesse, you know what else it is? It's also National Broadcast Traffic Professionals Day today.
Okay.
That's us, bro. That's us. That's us, Jesse.
Wait, say it again.
National Broadcast Traffic Professionals Day. That's us.
I don't know what that is.
That's what we do. We traffic on the broadcast.
What's a broadcast traffic professional? I feel like
it's a newscaster. That's what it. When I looked it up, that's what it said. I don't know why you're trying to hate on this already, Jesse, this morning.
Wait, hold on. No, so you're close.
No, I'm right.
People in radio and television traffic departments. We aren't reporting on the traffic.
Bro, there's tons of trafficking on this show.
I see what you did there. Okay, fine. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. We are trafficking professionals.
Totally.
Yes, bro. Come on, Jesse. Get with the program, bro. Get with the program.
But it's not just newscasters in general.
It kind of is.
Well, I don't think
it works for us.
It's not the National Cartel Day. I don't think that they're not. If the cartel was on the news, maybe they'd be in national traffic.
They're on the news. I see them on the news all the day.
Oh, do they have a podcast though? Yeah,
for sure they have podcasts. They don't acknowledge themselves, but yeah, 100% they got podcasts.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay, so it's fair enough. We're broadcast traffic professionals.
Yes. It's also Job Action Day today, you guys. Shout out to everybody with jobs out there.
As opposed to job inaction?
I would call it joblessness or, lack
job
of.
Inaction, otherwise known as the government shutdown.
Hey, I'm good with the government shutdown. They're firing people left and right. It's fantastic. I'm all for it. I'll support it. And especially since the Democrats don't want to come to their senses and, they want to fund insurance for illegals. I'm not with that. So, I'm fine with it. Keep the shutdown as long as they have to. But that's just my opinion.
Be proactive in your careers, people.
Mm-hmm. Well, Gwen's going to love this one, Jesse, because it's National Housewife's Day.
I wish she was actually a housewife. That would be great. We need that.
Yeah. And Gary... Oh, go ahead.
National Housewives Day.
No, not House Husbands. It's Housewives Day. Housewives Day. No.
Fair.
But I'll tell you what, you can't have National Housewives Day without this next one. That's right. It's National Sandwich Day.
Oh, yes.
Shout out to all the housewives making sandwiches on the daily.
Both of those go together.
Yes. Shout out to sandwiches.
I could go for an Italian sub right now.
Oh, man. Well, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And man, we were talking about hemp earlier, and apparently a grand jury report finds 93% of hemp products sold at smoke shops and gas stations in Pennsylvania are illegal marijuana, they say. That's right. A grand jury report in Pennsylvania has uncovered what local prosecutors are calling a public health crisis driven by the sale of illegal, unregulated marijuana products in smoke shops, gas stations, and convenience stores. The investigation, spanning Montgomery, Bucks, and Chester counties, found that 93.75% of 144 products purchased undercover and marketed as legal hemp was actually marijuana that contained illegal levels of THC. Officials say the finding exposed a statewide pattern of retailers selling marijuana under false claim that the products are Farm Bill compliant. District Attorney Kevin Steele of Montgomery County, Jennifer Scorn of Bucks County, and Christopher D. Barina Sarobe of Chester County joined Pennsylvania State Police Lieutenant Joshua Lacey in announcing the grand jury's findings on Thursday. They warned that smoke shops are misleading consumers and putting children at risk. Undercover operations documented widespread sales of THC vapes, gummies, lollipops, and even flour labeled as containing less than 0.3% Delta-9 THC. The legal hemp threshold, but which tested far higher, often above 5%. In a quote, "These stores are selling marijuana," said Bucks County Detective Gerald Eisenhower, who helped lead the investigation. "We approached it like a traditional drug case." The 107-page report, titled "Unregulated, Unsafe, and Illegal: The Reality of Smoke Shops in Pennsylvania," concluded that the lack of state oversight has created a community and a public health emergency. Officials say these unregulated products are often indistinguishable from regular candy once unwrapped, and making accidental ingestion a growing concern. In a quote, "This Wild West situation exists due to the lack of need of laws and oversight," said Steele. "This legislature needs to take swift and decisive action to regulate this industry." The grand jury's recommendations include setting a statewide minimum age of 21 for THC product sales, requiring ID scanning systems, implementing mandatory product testing and licensing retailers, and establishing clear legal definitions for marijuana and its derivatives like Delta-8 and Delta-10. District Attorney Shorn called the findings a clear and present public health and safety threat, urging lawmakers to close loopholes created by the 2018 Farm Bill that allowed the proliferation of unregulated THC products. In a quote, "The collaboration between our counties and the grand jury has been essential to expose just how dangerous and widespread these operations have become in our communities," Scorn said. Well. I mean, it's not like these things are that sophisticated. These people have small shops, and they're tobacco shops and head shops and whatnot, and they sell products. And now they just added more SKUs, and they're trying to act like there's some elaborate operation. This is totally ridiculous and totally gaslighting the community, but I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this.
I think you're close with the gaslighting thing. Well, there's a couple things here.
Yep.
One is, how are they testing for the THC? If they're using a GC, we all know that it uses heat.
It gives you a false positive. Yep.
Yeah, you're going to get a false positive. So there's that. So that it could be much ado about nothing in that sense.
I think it is.
The other thing is that, look, we know that there's bad actors in the hemp industry, unfortunately.
Are there really?
And this is the problem with the hemp industry and why it looks like a loophole. It's because it is so wide open that it allows bad actors to just do whatever they want, and they're creating these products out of whatever they want and pushing them into smoke shops and into convenience stores across the nation with no regulation at all. And look, I'm a libertarian person, but like I live in an area of Spokane, Washington, where the river is destroyed from mining, and if you go even further east into Idaho, into places like Wallace and Kellogg, there is serious ecological damage from companies just running amok and dumping stuff into the ground and into the soil and burning whatever into smokestacks, and it was all mining. And I'm just making a little analogy here that's the way that companies work when it is in a Wild West situation. And unfortunately, that's why we need regulation. And so even as libertarian as I am, I can see that side of things. And I think that the hemp industry is doing similar. They're just, it's wide open. People are doing whatever they want. And because they can make a quick buck, they're choosing the shortest route. And that route may be the most damaging route. And then ultimately what that ends up in is we're going to get over regulation on the other side. The pendulum's going to swing, and then we're going to have this all shut down. And that's my fear. So that's what I have to say about it.
What do you guys say, Gary?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts. One is it's not clear to me that the article's even accurate because were they testing this on a dry weight basis? And if they were, the Farm Bill doesn't require that at product level. So I don't know how you can call these illegal products, and if you're, assuming that you don't follow that rubric. But
I can tell you how they do it, Gary, because they want the press release, they want the hit and the tagline, and to, get the public all worked up.
Yeah, well, I mean, just because a product has 20 milligrams of THC in it and it's a gummy does not mean it's not hemp. So that's one. Second of all is I really have to disagree with the unregulated concept. I think 10 to 20 of our states, if not more, have some regulatory structure for hemp products on the books. And what we're trying to do is get more to do that, including the feds, because regulation is our friend, regulation and education. And I think that the notion that, these hemp products are unregulated, and then there are public safety issues and the children and et cetera, is all just preying on people who are trying to shut down something for whatever reason that they are to shut it down, but maybe not because it's intoxicant, if that's even a bad word. I think that you have political reasons, whether they are in the marijuana business or whether they are just anti people taking drugs, but they aren't necessarily supported by law, and that's why we're seeing a ton of litigation on this issue.
And I'm not opposed to the whole proposals from the grand jury, basically saying, hey, you know what, we need to have age gating, we need to have some clear labeling and whatnot. I'm totally for that, and I think most businesses don't really necessarily have a problem with that, whether or not they have the finances in place to institute a whole new POS system or whatnot. But I mean, let these people just operate their businesses as long as they're checking IDs and whatnot. Like let them have businesses as long as they're not selling it to minors. I don't see the big problem with it. These people just like to blow everything out of the water.
Alcohol, and it's a much more deadly poison than this, and we've been through that before. But Pennsylvania, that they have not gotten their act together to come up with a regulatory scheme to protect their people. All they're doing is claiming that the product's bad, so let's take out an elephant gun and shoot the flea and prohibit it.
Yep. Exactly, and these products, a lot of other products that are byproducts of the hemp that actually could be used for a lot of other different types of industrial purposes, cattle feed and stuff like that, are highly regulated to where they're not even allowed to actually be utilized, and people just have to throw it away. And so it's just, and that to me is just like uncommonsensical. It makes absolutely no sense at all whatsoever. But it's unfortunate. Well, Pennsylvania, we hope you get your act together and whatnot. Stop all this prohibitionist rhetoric that you're trying to gaslight your community with and scare people with the boogeyman. I mean, Halloween's already over, but on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back. himself. Oh man, and we are back, and I have some interesting news, you guys. This is interesting things happening in the world because gun rights groups urge the U.S. Supreme Court to strike down a ban on firearm possession by marijuana users. That's right. The gun rights groups are coming out for us, you guys. It's about damn time. A coalition of national and state gun rights organizations has filed a 24-page amicus brief with the U.S. Supreme Court, pressing justices to review Harris versus United States, a case that challenges the federal prohibition on firearm possession by marijuana users. The brief, submitted by the Second Amendment Foundation, California Rifle and Pistol Association, Second Amendment Law Center, Operation Blazing Sword, Pink Pistols, Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, and Minnesota Gun Owners Law Center argues that the restriction found in 18 U.S.C. 922 G3 is inconsistent with the nation's historical treatment of alcohol and firearms. Attorney C.D. McKell and Anna M. Braver of Michael and Associates, along with Constantiados Moros and SAF, contended that while laws have long prohibited carrying guns while actively intoxicated, there is no historical precedent for disarming sober individuals who occasionally consume substances like alcohol or, in modern times, marijuana. In a quote, they say, "Historically, the best example is alcohol. The filing states plenty of laws arose to prevent inebriated people from being armed, but what never existed were laws that prohibited people from owning guns because they sometimes drank. In the modern era, marijuana should be treated no differently." The belief emphasizes marijuana's growing acceptance, noting it is now legal to some extent in 40 states, including 24 where it is allowed for adult use purposes. And public opinion has shifted in parallel, with surveys showing nearly 60% of Americans supporting full legalization, and the groups argue this reality stands in stark contrast to harder drugs such as heroin or fentanyl, which is really cheap, which remain both illegal and socially unacceptable. The petitioners are asking the court to consider Harris alongside United States v. Hermani, which was granted review earlier this month. That case involves a defendant accused of possessing firearms along with marijuana and cocaine, but amici caution that it's unusual facts, including alleged ties to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and risks producing a ruling unrepresentative of most marijuana cases. Alan Gottlieb, founder and executive vice president of the Second Amendment Foundation, said the outcome could affect millions of law-abiding Americans who face losing their Second Amendment rights simply for using a substance legal in their state, often for medical reasons. And SAF is also separately challenging the ban as it applies to medical marijuana card holders in Green versus Garland, now pending in the Third Circuit. The brief concludes that intoxication and responsible use must be treated differently, and they say it is akin to banning anyone who has a six-pack of Budweiser in their refrigerator from owning guns, it states. The groups are urging the court to grant Satori and resolve a growing circuit split on how marijuana use intersects with the right to keep and bear arms, you guys. Well. Shoot 'em up, bang, bang. I think that's an interesting thought for them to do in relation with have it run secular, coincide with them judging on two cases, which I haven't heard that often done, but I think that does make a lot of sense, especially in regards with the Iranian reference in the Hermani case. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Pow, pow, pow. What do you think, Gary? You're a lawyer.
Well, Jesse was just going to talk. He was on mute. I don't want to.
Oh, go for it, Jesse. I didn't realize you were on mute.
I just had one thing to say, which is, where's the NRA?
I agree with you.
It's like you have all these small organizations from states, and our biggest gun rights activist group is silent.
You are right about that. That's 100% true about that. I wish I was hoping to see the NRA listed in this filing, but unfortunately they're not. But they should be. They should be the one that should be carrying this torch.
Kind of mind blowing
Yeah, it
that
would be
they're not.
it'd be interesting to see their position. They may be conflicted in terms of their overall position. Again, like we talked about a minute ago, politically, sometimes the positions you're taking are not for the reasons that they're stated. But clearly, preventing people from owning firearms, which is a constitutional right, because they happen to smoke marijuana, hemp, cannabis, sativa, is unconstitutional and really inconsistent, as we've talked about several times on this program, with the founders who were very big purveyors of hemp. So, I mean, whether or not George Washington would enjoy blowing a 30%, indica or whatever it is these days, is a separate discussion that we will never know. But we do know that the plant itself was greatly known about, embedded in, and a integral part of the United States economy, if not the driver of it. And I think for them, how somebody could claim that an amendment that was written by somebody who supports that plant would handled this way, it just doesn't strike me as making sense. But I suspect the Supremes will not use that argument.
You bring up an interesting kind of thought. I just have to pull out my little crystal ball to see in the future for a second. But, if for some reason that the Supreme Court gives an unfavorable ruling in regards with these cases, what's going to happen, what's going to be next, Gary, is that all of these gun rights activists that want to take your guns away for everything, they're going to move to alcohol next. They are 100% going to move to alcohol next because they're going to say it's an intoxicating substance and da-da-da-da-da, and they're going to move to all of these other things. 100% they will. 100% they will, because that's what these people's their goal is to make us basically like the United Kingdom, where we can't have guns and can't arm ourselves and whatnot, and therefore we can't defend against unjust governments. And so that is their whole goal overall in what they're trying to do with this whole gun rights propaganda, promotion that they're trying to say is like, oh, no one needs this type of gun, that type of gun, da 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 da. Like, yeah, we need all the types of guns, every type of gun we can possibly get our hands on to make sure that we are able to live in a free and caring society.
Well, they might try to do that, and that would be hilarious, because the uproar that would happen in this country if they did do that would be unbelievable.
Mark my words, Jesse. That's what's going to happen next, because they're all going to have a precedent on the facts of intoxicating substances if that is ruled in that manner.
Yeah, but that's just bordering on 1930s prohibition and the way this country reacts to this country freaks out when you try to touch their alcohol.
I'm just telling you, Jesse.
I agreed, but I also would say that I don't bet, but if I did bet, I would not bet against the Supremes on this. I think they know what you said, Jason, and they're not going to open up that can of worms. They don't want to have that kind of prohibitions on people's gun rights. So I'd be very surprised if they made that error. Now, if this were a different court, and President Kamala Harris was running the show, we'd be greatly at risk.
Yep. Well, not only that, but even if she didn't get the judgment that she wanted, their whole thing, and they already had executive orders to do this, was to stack the court. So then that way they could override any decision with these ideologue type of judges. But thank God that didn't happen. Thank God.
No, I don't see it happening. It's a difficult issue. And it's a very slippery slope if they try to suggest that being intoxicated from consuming cannabis sativa L is a problem, but being intoxicated from drinking a shit ton of liquor is not. Or taking any of these other drugs. Or what's to stop them from saying, if you're bipolar, you can't have a gun.
Exactly. That's that. I was going to go there next. That was going to happen right after alcohol. But I think the pharmaceutical lobby is bigger than the alcohol lobby.
That kind of gun prohibition would never work in this country.
Hey Jesse, I'm just telling you,
the guys that are killing.
They could try it.
Burke are those people.
It would happen. Up. It would happen. You'd get some group that has a bunch of money that's probably Soros funded to argue it in the Supreme Court, and it would probably end up going there. And oh man, it would be a whole.
Yeah, but the thing is about that is you just have to think that through. That would mean that probably more than 90% of the country would be illegal as far as owning a gun.
But that's what they want to do, Jesse. They want to take everyone's guns away.
That's what they want, but that would never fly.
Jesse,
I understand
Jesse,
that's what they want.
Guess what? It's never going to fly until it does.
That wouldn't fly.
This
country is the most armed country in the world. You're not going to just turn that
at one point in time,
at
one point in time, the UK was the most armed country in the world, and now look at them now. And so all I'm saying is that it's not out of the realm of reality.
We're not the UK.
Well, we're not anymore.
I think that as long as as long as we're going there, they should put a law in the books that says if you're a sick bastard, you can't have a gun.
Mm-hmm.
How many people did that?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That slippery slope just will never happen, and there's too many people. Not in our lifetime. I mean, that would take drastic changes. That would totally have to change the entire structure and the population of our country.
I totally disagree. That I think it could totally happen within our lifetime. Because we're always we're a generation away. We're only one generation away from living in a socialist society, Jesse. That's just how it is. Just Reagan said it. Reagan said it when he was president. You're only one generation away from losing everything, and you're constantly in that same state.
If Gavin Newsom were to become president, think about that.
Yep, he's taking everyone's guns.
Do you not remember the election map of Donald Trump winning the election? Dude, this country and the population of this country would never stand for those things.
Jesse.
Never.
Jesse,
you would have. But right now, civil war. You would have a full-blown civil war before those things became true.
Jesse, but they're trying to let everyone that's a non-citizen vote right now, Jesse, to override the U.S. citizens.
Look at New York City.
That's over.
Yeah, look at New York City. New York City is a perfect example. Exactly. You're so right about that, Gary.
That's a tiny microcosm of our country in reality.
No, it's not, though.
New York City's a microcosm?
No way.
New York City.
I know it's the biggest city. I understand that, but it's still, as far as the breadth and the depth of our country, it's a very small area, and it's a small group of people in reality. The truth is that most of our country, the hyper majority of our country, would never stand for any of that.
Jesse, I'm telling you, it could happen.
I'm not sure it's a hyper majority that supports guns. I don't believe that.
It's the 77 to 80 million people who voted for Donald Trump. It's the same.
I'm not sure
same
about
population.
That. I'm not sure about that. I mean, I'm not a gun person, and I don't feel strongly about the issue because I don't appreciate what I would do if I had a gun. And I voted for Donald Trump. So there are other people like me that don't attach to the issue. But
you support an armed population, right?
I don't know if I do, but I supported Trump rather than the clown that he was running against.
See?
Well, then we have another conversation to have.
Yeah. Yes. And
I think I'm going to go do that, and I have a plan to go shoot.
Oh, you should. Shoot early, shoot often, and always aim for that bullseye, Gary. You know what I mean? Yes. And Sean Savaje just popped in the chat and wants to make sure that everybody doesn't forget to reach out to their legislators and ask them to remove Section 759 from the FDA appropriations bill. The FDA Ag Appropriations Bill. Now I've been getting a lot of calls.
That's the hemp killer.
That's the hemp killer. And so it's 759 from the FDA Ag Appropriations bill. Now, I've heard, a lot of stories coming out of DC saying that has been removed and it's been taken off the table, but there have been no publications that have came out stating that as of yet. And so I'm not too sure, but that is something that I am looking for to make sure that we are covering for you as soon as something pops one way or the other. But please make sure that you call your legislators in relation to all that. And speaking of legislators, this was going to be Michael's story. Michael, I think, is in court today and unable to join us today. But man, let me tell you something, you guys. And Gary, this is going to hit home for you. Okay, are you ready? All right, because their campaign to legalize adult use marijuana in Florida takes the DeSantis administration to the state Supreme Court, you guys. That's right. The campaign to legalize adult use marijuana in Florida is suing Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' administration in the state Supreme Court, alleging the state election officials are trying to improperly block the measure from getting on the ballot in 2026. It's the latest escalation in a years-long clash between progressive organizers seeking to amend the state's constitution and the conservative governor, who in 2024 used state money and his political influence to successfully campaign against efforts to legalize adult personal use of cannabis and expand abortion rights. In a petition filed on Thursday, the group Smart and Safe Florida alleged state officials have failed to perform an indisputable legal duty and urged the Florida Supreme Court to order state election officials to confirm the campaign has gathered the hundreds of thousands of voter petitions needed to qualify for the ballot. Smart and Safe argues it has collected more than 3 times as many petitions as the law requires, but that for months state elections officials have failed to formally confirm that milestone. That official confirmation, while procedural, is legally required to put the proposed amendment before the state attorney general, who then must request the state Supreme Court to review the ballot language. In a quote, "As reflected by respondents' own publicly reported data, the initiative petition at issue here has secured 3 times the number of verified valid petitions required statewide," the campaign's filing reads. Ignoring the indisputable facts and their clear legal obligation, respondents refuse to exercise their mandatory ministerial duty, the filing continues. The fight to get adult use marijuana on Florida's ballot with the 2026 election season is fast approaching, and the campaign is racing against the state's April Fool's Day 2026 deadline for the Supreme Court to sign off on the proposed amendment, a key step to getting the issue before voters. A spokesperson for Secretary of State Cord Byrd, who is named in the suit, said the Florida Department of State does not comment on pending litigation, and representatives for DeSantis deferred questions to the department. Medical marijuana is already legal in the state for qualifying patients under Florida voters approved back in 2016 constitutional amendment, broadening access to cannabis beyond the limited therapeutic uses previously approved by the legislature. And for years, Florida voters have turned to the Citizens Ballot Initiative process to bypass the Republican-dominated legislature and advance progressive policies, such as raising the minimum wage and restoring voting rights of people with felony convictions. In May, DeSantis signed a law creating new hurdles for citizen-driven ballot initiatives, changes critics say would make it prohibitively expensive and effectively impossible for grassroots campaigners to get them onto the ballot. Since the passage of the law, a campaign to expand Medicaid in the state announced it's delaying its push to get the issue on the ballot until 2028. And members of DeSantis' administration are also under fire after the Foundation for the State Welfare Initiative, spearheaded by Florida's First Lady Casey DeSantis, gave $10 million from a state settlement to 2 nonprofits, which in turn gave millions to a political committee that campaigned against the failed 2024 ballot measure on adult use marijuana. The political committee was chaired by the governor's then chief of staff, James Utheimer, who is now Florida's attorney general, you guys. Well, man, they don't want to have cannabis on the ballot in Florida in 2026. I can't wait to hear what you guys are saying. Gary, especially you living in the state, how do you feel? Do you feel disenfranchised? I mean, because after all, I don't think it was going to pass anyway in 26. It's a midterm election and it's low voter turnout, but what do you got to say?
Well, it's interesting being a resident here and being a Republican. I do support Ronnie D, but his views with regard to cannabis sativa L are at best conflicting and at worst just pure, transparent political. Because, while he vehemently and adamantly fights against an adult use state, which would be very positive for the state of Florida, make us one of the biggest in the country, given the tourism. It's hard to reconcile with what he did last year with regard to vetoing a hemp bill that would have shut down adult use hemp, which is rampant in the state if you think that it's bad. So I don't understand how he reconciles those two things. And this is, again, this is political, not substantive. And I hope that the lawsuit is successful, because the people should vote. It shouldn't be what an outgoing prohibitionist views as to what it should be. It should be what the populace views. And this is something the populace should vote on. And they came within 2% of voting in favor of it last year. So I think that it's more of the same. And luckily, Ronnie D's tenure is up.
Yeah, very, very, very true. I mean, but do you think that this initiative really has a chance of passing in a midterm election? Because I don't think it stands a chance.
I don't really know, because I'm not a good political tea leaf reader, but I do know that the medical program is almost at like a speed bump. It's very limited. It's the licenses values are being compromised. People have invested a lot of money in this business, and there's a lot of tax money that's being left on the table. And ultimately, there are ways to get people to vote for things that they're not necessarily in favor of or that they don't understand, I think.
I'm confused. I thought wasn't the Citizens Ballot Initiative already voted into? It was voted on, right?
No,
and then it was overturned.
It was really fucked up because they made it that they had to get 58%, and they got like.
Well, it's
56.
a constitution. No. It's a constitutional amendment. It's because it's a constitutional amendment, Gary. It's always had to pass by a higher threshold than more than 50%. That's for everything in Florida. That's not just for this. They didn't make it for this. That's for any constitutional amendment in Florida.
That's what it was. So, and it did not pass.
Yes.
And like Jason pointed out, Ronnie D basically cut a deal with the devil, which is the adult use hemp people, to say, I'll veto the bill that's going to put you out of business, and we'll keep spewing these horrible products into our state through smoke shops and gas stations if you turn your attention to voting against adult use marijuana.
There's a lot of people that favored that, though, Mike. Gary. There's a lot of people that favored that. You know what I mean? That favored him on that position. And I don't necessarily want to fault him on that, because I think that bill was poorly written overall, with a lot of the liabilities that it gave all of the or lack of liability that it gave all of the operators in Florida. And so, I wasn't necessarily in favor of that bill either, and not to mention a lot of advocates weren't in favor of that bill because there was no home grow provision. And at the same time, they're still lacking that home grow provision. And yes, they say it's got to be a single subject and da. So, I just feel that if the industry was serious about really wanting to pass an adult use initiative in Florida, they need to run two parallel amendments, two parallel voter initiatives, one for home grow and one for adult use cannabis sales. They need to run them both side by side. You know what I'm saying? They should probably have one as Proposition 4 and one as Proposition 20. And that would be, you know what I'm saying, make sure that you vote yes on 420. That would be their whole campaign slogan right there.
I would think that the problem with that is that the people that are spending the money, namely Kim Rivers at Trulieve, $150 million spent, is not in support of homegrown. She wants you to come to her dispensary and buy it.
I understand that. I understand that. But she's never going to get the grassroots support unless she does that.
Maybe.
And the reality of it is this, is that whether people can home grow or not, people aren't really going to home grow. It's none of it is going to affect your bottom line as far as your sales. I mean, look at you don't see all of a sudden all these tomato farmers saying, "Hey, no home grow, it's cutting our bottom line on our produce section." You know what I mean? Like it's a total ridiculous, protectionist type of a stance to have. It's totally ridiculous. There's absolutely zero data that she can produce to show that in states with home grow that sales dropped by X number. I mean, her bigger problem is the trap, and the hemp market is way more competition for her than home grow ever will be. But
yeah, I think I would like to make an analogy on that too. Brewing beer is somewhat similar in the concept of being able to do it at scale and being able to brew quality beer at scale, and people being able to brew at home. Home brewers do not put a dent in the national beer drinking market, right? And it's a huge thing. People love it. It's a huge hobby and a passion for a lot of people. But in fact, it does the opposite, because people who are home brewers they created the craft beer market, and that became this whole addition to the alcohol market that didn't exist before, and actually broadened and deepened the market and made it bigger. So Kim Rivers is really short-sighted for opposing home grow, because she just doesn't understand that home grow would actually benefit her business.
It actually would.
I don't know if she does. Is against it. I'm just.
She is. She's against it.
She is.
She is.
Yeah,
she is against. You were right, Gary. Yeah.
Trulieve is against it, and you were right to kind of allude to that. She's been very.
Wants us to have to go spend $58 for a shitty eighth, as opposed to growing shitty.
And guess what? 99% of people will, even if you do allow home grow.
Yeah,
because just like most people eat junk food every day, most people go through a drive-through like once a day. I forget the stats, but it's really high. The amount of the population that goes through a drive-through every day, even though it's totally poison for you, just because it's convenient and it's cheap. Our nation is full of people who do make decisions based on convenience and affordability.
Hawaii Sustainable in the chat, he says Kim sold patience upriver. That's actually nice. That is pretty good. But on that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't. I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months. I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me. We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created. Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees? All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
And stop whatever you're doing and smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app.
Where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfers, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
It tasted so good for the 5 minutes, and then I was like, the pain.
The pain. And bringing the pain, we're going to roll right in to Mr. Jesse Barney. He's the founder of Barney Design Co., and he can help tell your brand exactly what it's trying to tell you. And if it's your food brand, maybe it's telling you what your stomach should be hearing and tasting. It is none other than Mr. Jesse Barney.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. My story comes out of East Idaho news from my neck of the woods over here, not too far away. Idaho is in a fight. Here's the headline. Medical cannabis advocates cleared to begin collecting signatures for new Idaho ballot initiative. A coalition of Idahoans supporting the legalization of medical cannabis for people with debilitating medical conditions has received the go-ahead to begin collecting signatures for a ballot initiative for the November 2026 election. The Boise-based group Natural Medicine Alliance of Idaho, which was created this year, announced October 29th it is beginning to collect signatures attempting to qualify the Idaho Medical Cannabis Act to go before voters in the 2026 general election. The group filed an initiative petition with the state on August 29th and received ballot titles from the Idaho Attorney General's office on October 20th. Under Idaho state law, cannabis means marijuana, and the two terms are sometimes used interchangeably. The Idaho Medical Cannabis Act seeks to allow qualifying patients with chronic pain or debilitating conditions like cancer, AIDS, multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, Crohn's disease, post-traumatic stress disorder, or Alzheimer's to access regulated cannabis for treatment. In order to access medical cannabis, Idahoans would need to apply for a medical cannabis card by presenting medical records showing a diagnosis of a substantial health condition from a medical professional authorized to make such a diagnosis. It would also establish a regulated licensing system for Idaho-based producers and dispensaries. It would also prohibit the public use of medical cannabis, prohibit the sharing of medical cannabis with others, and prohibit impaired driving while under the influence of medical cannabis, while it would, in addition, reclassify cannabis from a Schedule I drug to a Schedule II drug in state law in order to allow for research of medical cannabis. That's probably the most interesting part of what they're trying to do. So this is about giving families and individuals options when nothing else has worked, said Amanda Watson, communications lead for the National Medicine Alliance of Idaho. This initiative was created with Idaho values in mind. It would require strong oversight, measures to prevent recreational use, and most importantly, it would provide relief for thousands of Idahoans suffering from serious medical conditions. It's a compassionate, conservative approach to health care. The short ballot title for the Idaho Medicinal Cannabis Act reads, Measure Decriminalizing the Use, Possession, Production, Cultivation, Transportation, Distribution, and Sale of Marijuana by Medical Cannabis Cardholders and Production Licensees. Meanwhile, the Idaho legislature strongly opposes marijuana and always has. The new medical cannabis initiative sets up the potential to have 2 dueling cannabis questions on Idaho voters' ballots in November 2026. The Idaho legislature, which staunchly opposes marijuana, has already placed a proposed amendment to the Idaho Constitution called House Joint Resolution 4 on the November 2026 ballot in Idaho. If approved by voters, HJR 4 would make it so that only the Idaho legislature, not Idaho voters, has the power to legalize marijuana or other narcotics. HJR 4 applies to the growing, possession, use, selling, delivering, dispensing, prescribing, manufacturing, or transporting of marijuana or other narcotics. Quote, too many legislatures across this nation have sat back and just waited as initiative after initiative would come after them until they finally overwhelm it and overwhelm the legislature, State Senator Scott Grow, Republican from Eagle, said in March. We are acting because that's our responsibility. Days before adopting the proposed amendment to the Idaho Constitution, the Idaho legislature also passed another law creating a new mandatory minimum fine of $300 for anyone convicted of simple possession of marijuana. In Idaho, a ballot initiative is a form of direct democracy where the voters of Idaho, not the Idaho legislature, decide whether to pass a new law. To qualify the Idaho Medical Cannabis Act for the November 2026 election, supporters need to gather and verify signatures from at least 70,000 registered Idaho voters, with at least 6% of the registered voters in at least 18 of Idaho's 35 legislative districts. Supporters have until April 30th to collect the required signatures and submit them for verification, Watson said. If the ballot initiative qualifies for the November 2026 election, it would require a simple majority of voters to approve it. All of Idaho's neighboring states, other than Wyoming, either offer medical cannabis like Utah or recreational marijuana like Washington, Oregon, Montana, and Nevada. Since 2012, different groups in Idaho have tried and failed every 2 years to qualify a medical marijuana ballot initiative to go on the ballot. State records show the Natural Medicine Alliance of Idaho, I almost said Ohio, is a new, different group that launched this year. Well, that's about it. They're just going to talk about what the Natural Medicine Alliance is. I have mixed feelings about this. I've talked about this before. I think that I see the sort of under the doormat way that we're getting cannabis to pass state by state by doing this medical law thing. I feel like it backfires 20 to 25 years later when the sort of brand and what's in people's minds about what cannabis is. We need to change it later because we really believe this is a wellness product or a life enhancement product and a plant that's useful for a million different things, not just severe medical conditions. So I have a problem with the way that we do it. I also support the way that we do it. I'm kind of like in both camps here on this. And I was actually born in Idaho. I rarely admit that because, well, it's Idaho. And this is why, because Idaho in most ways is a beautiful state. I love the politics. I love how conservative they are in so many ways. But this is one area where I think they get it so wrong. And they're probably going to be the last state to ever make it legal in any way. And I think this is kind of much ado about nothing. And the Natural Medicine Alliance is wasting their time. But we'll see. I'll toss it over to my other correspondents and see what they think.
Well, Jesse, I'm confused a little bit about this because I thought Idaho was one of the states that couldn't enact a law through a voter initiative process, that it had to go through their legislature.
No, they can, but yeah.
Interesting.
But they're trying to stop that.
Well, apparently so. Because that's the second bill that you referenced. I really thought that they couldn't do it. That's one of the reasons that they were one of the last states to make this happen.
No, they can, but it's the population of Idaho doesn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
The population of Idaho, I think it's like 70%. It's very high. Doesn't want cannabis.
Well,
in their state.
I think they need to initiate a whole campaign that says you can't have potatoes without the pot. And that needs to be what Idaho uses to get this passed.
Yeah, I mean, that's hilarious, and it's a great pun.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the funny thing is so many people do smoke weed in Idaho, and it is so illegal. I mean, it's wild how illegal it is. I mean, if you have a tiny amount of weed, you get a $300 fine. And they can put you in jail too.
Yeah. That's what happened to what's his face, Dogface or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really it's the most prohibitionist state as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a wonderful state in every other way, and that's like one of the only drawbacks to the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if weed was legal there, I would immediately want to move to Idaho. Immediately.
Really?
It's yeah. If weed was legal and they didn't change anything else about the state, it would be probably the best state in the nation.
It is a really good state for starting businesses and for tax structure and everything else like that. It's a very business friendly type of state. I've done some decent work, and I know a lot of people that make a lot of money that they're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to get a second residence in Idaho because of their tax benefits that they have there.
And in general, the culture, like when I think of conservatism and the right kind of conservatism, I really think of 3 states right off the top of my head. I think Idaho, Montana, and Texas.
You don't think of Florida, huh?
Yeah, I guess I think of Florida, but it's so far removed for me that and I would never move there. Would never live in Texas or in Florida. But I'm a fan of the West, so I think of those off the top of my head.
Okay. All right. What do you think, Gary? Idaho.
I think that, if they change their view, they'd sell more French fries.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Look, Idaho's been a thorn in the side of the hemp business big time. I mean, there's been some major litigation where trucks have made the mistake of driving over that border and having confiscation of legal product. So I understand that Idaho, I guess because I don't really ski anymore, there'd be no reason for me to go to Idaho. I never went there anyway. So I agree with Jesse that I think it doesn't appear that this is a state that is going to accept cannabis without being forced, because hemp was legalized federally and they still chose to arrest people for it.
Oh yeah.
I don't see the end game for legalization there.
Interesting. Well, all these potato pushers, and we were talking about McDonald's hash browns and stuff, and Idaho got a lot going on for it. Hopefully, I'll tell you this much: when I went to football camp in Boise State in Idaho, there was, there was definitely some cannabis involved in that trip, but that was a long time ago. But nonetheless, we're gonna roll into our final commercial, and we are gonna be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. That. So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Yes. And we are back, and we are going to roll back. Yes, we're going to roll right into Mr. Gary Kaminsky. Gary is a regulatory compliance attorney with over 39 years of experience in working in highly regulated industries. For the past 10 years, Gary has focused his practice on the cannabis market and hemp space, advertising public multi-state operators, hemp beverage manufacturers, and other participants in the cannabis supply chain. Prior to that, Gary was a SEC enforcement attorney, in-house counsel for proprietary trading firms and broker-dealers, and a principal at several hedge funds. Gary's expertise in developing, implementing, and maintaining regulatory expertise, risk management systems to mitigate lapses that can cause disruption to clients' businesses. That's right, it is the fixer himself, Mr. Gary Kaminsky.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to read a little bit about more of the Farm Bill, my favorite subject.
I love this.
The great Farm Bill bait and switch, the cartel trying to kill the hemp-derived THC bill. There's a strange irony playing out in Washington, D.C. Even as major alcohol corporations such as the Boston Beer Company and retail giants, including Target, Circle K, bet heavily on the hemp-derived THC beverages, a coordinated political effort is underway to ban the very products they're rushing to sell. In Washington, D.C., a loophole in the federal law exploited by an anti-cannabis Maryland congressman is being used to crack down on small local hemp shops. Simultaneously, after a redefinition of hemp under federal law was thwarted at the last minute over the summer, rumors of a federal spending bill that would kill the industry overnight swirl, even amid the ongoing government shutdown. Despite the claims of protecting children from harm and the evils of sketchy products peddled by unscrupulous fly-by-night merchants, the anti-hemp THC hysteria isn't a grassroots movement for public safety. It's a calculated act of anti-competitive protectionism and a textbook case of regulatory capture. The 2018 Farm Bill, which legalized hemp production nationwide and established a legal stand for differentiating marijuana from hemp, had an unintended or perhaps inevitable consequence. It legalized products containing hemp-derived THC. Sensing opportunity and realizing that many Americans lacked access to regulated cannabis products, thousands of small businesses and entrepreneurs built a multi-billion-dollar industry from scratch. In a sign the market is maturing, operators big and small are competing and innovating, introducing new products like functional seltzers, powdered drink sticks, and more. The runaway success of this new market demonstrated a very real consumer demand, particularly in states where state-licensed cannabis remains either illegal, inaccessible, or absurdly expensive. In Texas alone, the legal hemp market is estimated to be worth $5.5 billion. For years, existing state-licensed cannabis corporations, the marijuana multi-state operators that spent millions lobbying in an effort to guard their protective share of limited license markets ignored hemp. But now it's a proven multi-billion-dollar market. The regulated cannabis industry sees hemp as a threat. Hemp beverages realize many companies dream of cannabis as a consumer packaged good. Giants in the space are entering the ring and acquiring hemp beverage companies or launching their own product lines. They see the future, and that future for them does not include the thousands of small competitors that build the hemp industry. Why lobby for a free market when you can just lobby to eliminate your competition? The crisis of hemp-derived THC, as it's framed by state attorneys general and certain members of Congress, is manufactured panic. It's designed to justify new laws like California's blanket ban on hemp-derived THC that do one thing: clear the field for the big players. More than a year, lobbyists representing the MSOs and their new corporate allies have been urging lawmakers to change the Farm Bill's definition of hemp, effectively making their smaller competitors' products illegal. Kentucky Senator Mitchell McConnell, the 2018 Farm Bill's once proud chief author, now wants the closure of the so-called loophole to be the last act of his storied political career. But this maneuvering in D.C. isn't a safety measure. It's a political hit job. It's a way for big companies to pull the ladder up behind them. They are embracing the hemp beverage market with one hand while paying lobbyists to strangle it with the other. The hypocrisy is stunning. The demand for these products was created by the failure of state-licensed cannabis model. A limiting license to hand-picked few states created artificial scarcity and sky-high prices, pushing consumers to seek legal, accessible alternatives. Hemp filled that void. If we want to address this, the answer isn't a new prohibition. The answer is to dismantle the protectionist state-level systems. A free and open market for all cannabis products would see the demand for hemp-derived alternatives evaporate overnight. But the incumbent licensees don't want a free market. They want a cartel. And with the help of new corporate giants, they're trying to use the power of Congress to get it. This is more of what I've been espousing. And it just strikes me as really interesting that I think almost universally those of us who have been in the industry would say that the marijuana state-by-state law rubric is a failure on so many levels. It's a failure in terms of proliferating the industry. It's a failure in terms of profitability. It's a failure in terms of redressing social equity, which they've overused wrongfully in a misguided way. And it's just incredible that the people that are losing are now saying, well, we're losing and we're stuck with this horrible system where we can't make any money. And thankfully, it's federally illegal, so we don't have to file for bankruptcy. But we want to shut down an industry that is working and is developing, notwithstanding certain warts it might have and certain unregulated markets where it may be currently operating, which could be corrected through regulation. We want to just shut that down completely and force them into the failing marketplace because misery loves company. And it's a hypocrisy, and it's something that this country should not be countenancing, yet we see it currently as the negotiations go on with regard to the appropriations bill and the language that Miller Amendment originally put in, which would prohibit any hemp intoxicants, and it would eliminate a multi-billion-dollar industry and a supply chain that has developed into a functioning supply chain. And I must say that many times it wasn't. And it's just frustrating. And using the word cartel is I guess pejorative in a way, but it's a cobble that is misguided, and I think that hopefully smarter minds and educated minds will prevail, but they may not.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I'm with you. I ultimately hope that this gets that they remove this language. It just, there's so many other better ways that they could they could go about this than with a total ban. And all they're going to do is like you said, create these more illicit markets, because people are still going to make this product. People have invested so much money into the infrastructure to actually produce these products. They're not just going to stop because they, you know what I mean? Like, this doesn't make any sense. People are going to take risks. Jesse, you with us, Jesse?
Yeah, I'm so conflicted about this in so many ways. The image in the story of Pete Sessions pointing to this poster, on one half is a pile of hemp rope, and it says what we thought we were getting, and then on the other half is a bunch of brightly colored candy packages, and it says what we got. I think that's somewhat true. I think that and this is what I was saying earlier about the whole bait and switch with the medical thing, is the cannabis industry got really good at selling the story of what cannabis is and what hemp is. And then it turns out that for the most part, it's, edibles and candies that are in convenience stores. And that's what it ended up being. And so there's a problem there. And this comes down to something that I tell branding clients. You can't tell a story that's not true through and through, because your customer is going to figure it out. The reason that McDonald's works as a brand is because we know it's poison and they don't deny it. They don't sell quality, and they don't sell health. They sell fun, and they sell enjoyment. So their taglines, even, I'm loving it, right? So and we are okay with that because it's honest. And so we have a problem, and I think we need to be very square with this as an industry, and I think this is up to us to really get square with, is that we have a problem of telling a story that's one thing, and then the real story is a different thing, and then when that gets figured out, it actually breaks trust in the long run. Well, and so we really need to be cognizant of that, and I think the hemp industry is especially guilty of that. And then on the other side, there's the libertarian part of me, which is let people do whatever they want as long as they're not hurting anybody. Well, and so I'm conflicted. It's very difficult for me. I think what's difficult for me is because I do love the hemp industry and I do love the cannabis industry, and I love how it's been fighting this fight of freedom of allowing people to do whatever they want. But then I see how it's bringing harm on itself by not being completely forthright. And so there's some issues there.
That's fair. That's fair criticism. But I think at the same time too, a lot of these legislators knew that we didn't currently have the proper infrastructure set up in place to produce these products. So I think that Pete Sessions is just gaslighting when he's like, oh, this is what we were promised and this is what we got. Like, stop it. You guys knew exactly what time it was when this bill went through and what was happening. And so don't play the woe is me type of thing right now when there haven't been proper government funding efforts or proper investment into the industry to be able to process into these other different types of sustainable products overall, because that's a serious investment in our critical infrastructure in regards to getting that manufacturing back going in our country. And that was all supposed to be part of Trump's agenda in regards with Make America Great Again, and we need to reinvigorate that while he's number 47. And so I'm a big proponent of that, and that's one of the things I talk about often when I talk with different individuals in regards to this, is there needs to be those types of appropriations placed to enhance and spur that type of serious investment that we are going to need in order to be able to produce these different types of products with all of the different biomass that is produced domestically. And shout out to the C Word who sent in a super chat who says, home growing is fun, but your flower will never be as good as the real thing.
Oh, that's hilarious because my homegrown flower is better than anything I've ever bought in a dispensary.
It's all a matter of how much of an agrarian you are. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that in the immortal words of Herman Edwards, the legislation is what we thought it was. And I think, like you said, Jason, for a guy like Pete Sessions to fall on the rope, not dope nonsense. And the amount of responsibility and fiduciary obligations that these congressmen and senators have, for them to suggest that it's a loophole in a law is to me comical. There's no loophole. It's clear what it says. And had they taken the time to educate themselves, if they didn't want to have happen what is happening, then they may have written a different law.
Exactly. They knew what was happening.
CBD has an effect on the human body. You can, I don't know what word you want to use, but it does affect you. And if it's not intoxicating, it certainly has ramifications that shouldn't be surprising. And the other part of the story that I feel like is shocking is if the guys who started NORML, and going back to the 70s when Nixon shut down marijuana, and all the grassroots organizations that did everything they could to try to legalize marijuana, I guarantee you they'd be leaning into the hemp, because this is how you get it. So to fleet what we already have and is just, to me, it's corporate and it's business and it's politics, but it's not reality. And that I think that low dose hemp beverage market, which is astounding and now has proliferated into major retailers, to say that that's dangerous and should be shut down, that's U.S. capitalism at its finest and entrepreneurial spirit. If you want to shut down, bathtub gin, gummies, or whatever you want to call it, regulate. There's no problem with that. But you don't eviscerate an entire industry.
You're exactly right, Gary. Exactly right on that. But you know what? You know what I can tell you is dangerous, Gary? Oh, man, I got a boogeyman story for you because we just got done at Halloween, you guys. Hope you're ready for this, because a marijuana dispensary got caught giving away thousands of grams of concentrate under a fake name, you guys. That's right. A fake name. That's right. A cannabis dispensary in Washtenaw County used a fake customer account to give away hundreds of vape cartridges with marijuana concentrate for free. F-R-E-E, you guys. Dispensary staff working at Budbridge LLC, based in Yesaplanty, used multiple profiles under the fake account Chris Peterson for various product transfers, including giving out samples to employees and running promotions and giveaways. The Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency flagged transactions that included almost 2,000 grams of marijuana concentrate, exceeding the legal limit for possession in the state. The product was given away to customers for free, regulators said. And here's exactly what we know. The Michigan dispensary is in trouble, you guys, because regulators were tipped off about the potential malfeasance at a dispensary when an anonymous complaint was sent back in May of 2025. A worker at the business located at 19 North Hamilton Street in Yesaplanty alleged inaccurate tracking, improper sales, and improper storage of product at the dispensary. According to a complaint from the CRA, an agent with the regulator visited the business in July and questioned the general manager about the allegations. The dispensary used multiple accounts under the name Chris Peterson on its point of sale system to transfer products to employees and customers. In addition to running promotions and giving out internal samples, the fake account was used by staff to penny out products, essentially selling products marked at a low price. In one case, 400 vape carts, each containing 2 grams of marijuana concentrate, were sold for a penny per cart. The product was valued at $5,400, and in another case, 487 vape cartridges were sold under the Chris Peterson name. The product was valued at $4,383. But when questioned by regulators, the compliance manager said the products were promotional items given to customers for free. Both customers were later given the product, totaling 1,774 grams of concentrate, which exceeds the legal possession limit allowed by the state and is a crime in Michigan. And respondent did not report this criminal activity to the CRA, the complaint added. And the general manager also admitted that they had been warned about noncompliance for using the fake Chris Peterson account, but continued to do it anyway. During a tour of the facility, regulators observed unlabeled pre-rolls and bags of marijuana flower in the office, and an 8-count complaint was made against the dispensary and sent to the licensing department with plans to impose possible fines and sanctions against the business. It could have its license suspended or revoked ultimately, and there is also a criminal element to the complaint because of the illegal limit for possessing marijuana concentrate in Michigan is 15 grams. Instead, one customer possessed 53 times the legal limit and another left with 64 times that legal limit, you guys. Wow. Talk about snitching on yourself. Man, oh man, oh man. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. I think this happens in a lot of dispensaries, though, to tell you the truth, a lot of the time. I think a lot of these places have some type of a fake profile for giving out products to different customers, or even rectifying their books when things are lost or stolen or anything else like that once they finally do their audit and they run through it. But man, oh man, oh man. Shout out to Chris Peterson. Apparently.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, I'll say this. We have a dispensary in Michigan, so I'm relatively familiar with the notion of employee samples, being an employee of one.
I thought you were going to say you're familiar with Chris Peterson, Gary.
I do not know Chris Peterson, but I from what I can understand from what this story is, the people were very stupid. I don't understand why what their end game was in this, to take that kind of risk with your license solely to give product to your employees when you're allowed to. But they're very strict. The CRA comes in and you have to code the products correctly in metric, and some of the vendors don't do that. And then they come in, and the ones that you can give to your employees or that you can give out to consumers are specifically coded that way. So it's something that we know the CRA is very in tune to. So these people, I don't understand why they would do this. Are they having a hard time getting people to work there? So they need to give them more vapes? I don't know. I just think it is very stupid.
I just wonder if maybe these products were getting ready to go bad. And I'm willing to bet, Gary, that what probably also too something that they did was like say, hey, okay, you know what, go through and process these, and instead of bringing up what items were going to each individual employee, they just rang it up all under one individual and then still gave them to all the different employees. I'm willing to bet that it's something like that happened, And so like, it may not have been diverted illegally, but it looked like it was diverted illegally when recorded in the database, if that makes sense.
Well, it is diverted illegally because they didn't do it right. And they did something indirectly that you couldn't do directly.
Well, this is the thing. You can't say it was diverted illegally if it wasn't diverted illegally. It may not have been processed properly, but it doesn't mean that it was diverted illegally.
Well, if it's not processed within the regulations of how it's supposed to be processed, that's diversion. I won't use the word illegal because I don't know what that means.
I'm not sure if I'm buying that one.
I don't think diversion has to be you're selling out the back door. Diversion is when a product is moved outside of the metric system.
See, you and I have very different definitions of diversion than Gary, which is fair. My definition of diversion is something that is moved illegally, either to someone who is not supposed to have it, or a higher amount of what an individual is supposed to carry with them.
That would be my definition of diversion, not necessarily just because it got processed improperly. You know what I mean? Because if you're still giving the let's just say it's 15 grams to 5 different employees, you know what I mean, but you ring up all 45 60 grams, you know what I mean, under one person, it doesn't mean that it was diverted illegally. It just wasn't processed properly. That's just my and yes, we're getting into semantics on this, Gary, and I understand your compliance background to where you're coming from.
Understand where I'm coming from.
No, I do. Yeah.
I'm just saying, looking at it from a compliance officer's perspective, you have to follow the letter of the law, and there's no good reason for why they didn't, other than somebody got lazy.
Efficiency, Gary, efficiency.
Don't you think there's more to this? The very tail end of the article says that their limit is 15 grams, but one customer possessed 53 times the legal limit.
Yeah,
that would be 800 grams.
That's part of my point. It was probably on some day that they had some promotional giveaway or whatnot, and so then they rang up all so they probably gave the items all away, right? And then at the end of the day, they're like, oh, we gave away all these items, we need to ring them up under this person, so then that way it gets out of our system.
Yeah, but you're missing my point. That's fine. You still have one customer with 800 grams of concentrate.
Yeah, but not in reality. Only on this on the tracking system.
That's what they're saying at the end of this article.
No, it's the same person.
Of the complaint, because the legal limit for possessing marijuana concentrate is in Michigan is 15 grams.
You're missing what I'm saying.
No, hold on. Instead, one customer possessed 53 times the legal limit, and another left. Meaning leaving the dispensary with 64 times the legal limit. So you had 2 customers that they identified with over 50 times the legal limit of concentrate on their person.
This is what I'm saying, Jesse. Chris Peterson is the illegal.
No, these are 2 different people.
I don't know if I'm.
You're missing. That's what you're missing. It's not saying Chris Peterson left.
To support what Jesse is saying, because our dispensary is on a border, and we're on the border with Indiana, which is not a marijuana.
Oh, you got a good one of the good ones out there.
Exactly. But a lot of people come in from Indiana, and they buy, and I'm guessing they go back and sell. We don't know that. But if I give them 53 times what they're allowed, I think we do know that. And that
we know exactly what's going on. That's my point. Exactly my point.
Well, how do you know they didn't have another fake person in their thing?
No. That's not what it's saying. It's saying 2 different customers had more than 50 times the legal limit.
And what I'm saying,
it's not referring to Chris Peterson.
What I'm saying,
different things.
What I'm saying is, what if those other 2 people are also Chris Petersons, not necessarily named Chris Peterson? Maybe they're named Sonny Bono and you know what I'm saying, and Jono. You know what I mean?
No, but you're missing. Okay, Jason, you're making up a whole different thing. That's not what it's saying.
It's possible.
It's saying that there was an 8-count complaint made against the dispensary, and 2 of those complaints were a criminal element where 2 different customers had more than 53 times the legal limit on their person. They were caught with that amount on their person.
No. They were not caught with that amount on their person, Jesse. That's not what it's saying. It's saying that according to the sales record, that they left with that amount, not that they were caught with that amount on their person.
In one sale.
And that's why
have it on them, because they flipped it.
Right. One sale to one person. So here's what you have. You have almost 800 1-gram carts being sold to someone for $8.
Right.
That's what that is.
Those went to New York.
They went to Indiana, bro.
That's called diversion.
This is so obvious. Like, you're king of the trap, and you're denying exactly what's going on.
I'm just saying. I don't think that's what it is.
This is so obvious. This is an employee who's off duty for the day or not working for the day, and they're coming in and they're buying a ton of weed, and they're leaving and crossing the border and selling it for, even if they only sell it for $3 or $4 a cart, they're still just making crazy money because they paid a penny.
Off a truck, baby.
Yeah.
It fell off a truck.
They did. That's what happened. They fell off the truck with the dispo van. You know what I'm saying? Well, this was a fun story. This was a fun story, you guys. Yes, and thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high at noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Trademarked.